Zach, Happy New Year. How are you, man?
Howdy doody. My New Year's resolution is to grow my hair back out. And
How's it going for you?
it's fine. It's just there's this stage where I feel like women have this better opportunity because their hair is typically longer, so they don't have this phase. I'm in like that 2 to 3 inches of terribleness where it's just like I need it to get a little bit longer because I can't do the whole spike thing, which is what people are accustomed to knowing me as. But we'll get by.
What's your goal, man? How long are you growing out the hair?
I would imagine like it was, 2020-ish. It got pretty long there. I've been keeping the beard a little bit more sophisticated, if you will. But maybe to their aspect. A couple more inches.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than you either got to commit or not. That in between stage is terrible.
It is. It's a terrible thing. So I just met today's guest 13 minutes ago. I know you're super excited about him. You've known him. When did you first meet him?
Start Peninsula of last year. So 2022, Start Peninsula.
What
we've talked about so we've talked about the fact that there's just certain founders that they have that it factor, if you will. Super knowledgeable, charismatic, knowledgeable in the sense of knows their numbers, knows the data, knows their customers. So that's just all really, really, really important stuff. You can't fake your way through that kind of through business that way, because you'll pick up on it, and then so you're either building or losing credibility. And just every time talking to Tahjere, man, or hearing him, man, he was building that credibility. So that's where we are today.
Charisma is a very underrated data point. I don't know what the word is. Descriptor in a pitch.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
If someone is born, and not everyone is charismatic, but those ones in pitch competitions, in movies, in acting, in like that charisma, I feel like charisma is like the natural born leader type of thing. Like you see a lot of athletes that have that charisma, and it's, I think some people maybe don't like that from a person, but I love it. And I think it's important. And I think those who have a lot of charisma are the ones that typically, and when you pair that with the knowledge of their KPIs that are necessary. My other New Year's resolution is to speak better English, so hopefully that'll be there too. But yeah, so super excited for today's show. And Tim, I know you've been excited since you got word that he signed up. So,
well, and the other thing too, man, and welcome to the show, Tahjere, is the fact that this was an unsolicited request, in the sense of it's a lot of times we'll see founders and be like, hey man, do the show. That'd be awesome or woman to do the show. But and this is one of those blanket invites, and then Tahjere, you took the initiative and you're like, let's do it. So that's always awesome too.
Yeah, so, happy to be here.
Welcome.
Well,
Hampton.
Since we've been tooting your horn, you better be charismatic, because if not, I'm out. I'm leaving.
Oh, I got the energy. I got the energy now. I'm ready.
Okay, get your stretch on. Let's go.
Yeah, man.
Let's go.
So let's start from the beginning. You're from Hampton, Virginia.
Yes, I'm born and raised in Hampton, Virginia. I have family all across the United States, just about 757 area. So we have that energy that we have. A lot of great athletes coming out of that area. It's a great environment. I went to Hampton High School. Go Crabbers. I went all 4 years there. I had a decision of going to Bethel or Hampton, but I made the decision to go to Hampton because they had a good track and field team. So I made that decision.
So in middle school, do you have like a hat at a table with like 2 cameras in front of you, and you decide which one you're about to put the Bethel hat on? You go, no, put the Crabber hat on. Do you do that, or is that like, no, that's not your way?
Yeah, that wasn't the way back then. That wasn't the way. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you went to the worst school in the history for college.
Look, my Hokie fans, they're probably watching right now, and they're gonna hate you, Zach.
That's fine. Don't care.
Okie Nation, that's a bear. That's a mama bear right there. You can't play with that one. You can't play with that one.
So did you go to Virginia Tech for
they
track
can't
and
really
field?
play in football, at least not against us.
We're gonna see. I didn't play football, so I can't speak on that one, but I'm gonna defend them. But Tim, so actually making the decision to go to Virginia Tech, that one was a tricky one. It wasn't necessarily track, but it was academics, right? So in high school, I was all about track and field. I was like, that was my number one mission, was track and field. Like even in middle school, I started running around my middle of 8th grade. And I had a decision to make during high school. Right, I got hurt my junior year. My junior year of high school, I had a pelvic stress fracture, and it messed my direction up in terms of, pursuing my dreams of track and field. And at that point in time, I had to make a decision if track was going to be the thing that actually took me from my current situation. And while I was hurt, I was definitely undergoing depressed, as most athletes. Like, that was my identity. And I had to figure out who was Tahjere as a person. So during that time, I said, if I don't have track, I'm not going to sit around and power. I was definitely doing rehab, but I had to get a cortisone shot in my pelvis for healing. But that took 6 to 8 months. So during that time, I got my first job. I worked at Taco Bell, and that experience was horrible. I just knew that I didn't want to do this. And I didn't know why I was doing it. I was doing it just for money. And I said, you know what, this is not the way. I can't. It wasn't a good feeling at all. But up until that point, I always was able to keep money in my pocket. I used to sell Pop-Tarts in middle school. I almost got kicked out of middle school. I used to sell Pop-Tarts in middle school. And then in high school, I was selling candy. I used to go to BJ's, like a big Sam's Club. I used to get the big pack of candy. I used to sell those out of my bag in high school.
A young hustler.
Yes, a young hustler. Yes.
Yeah, yes. But before we keep going, what was so bad about Taco Bell? So I worked at a Domino's growing up, and I loved working there. And maybe it's because we didn't interact with as many customers in the same way, but like I worked there for 3-4 years, and it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed that aspect of it. So what about Taco Bell was so terrible?
So my interview, right? The lady interviewed me, and I told her I ran track and field because, like I said, that was my identity. I always brought that to the table. So she's like, "Oh, you're fast." Man, this lady put me on the line. I said, I run with my feet, not my hands, right? And Taco Bell, they got rush hours, right? So you got to, and tacos break. So you got to be gentle but fast at the same time. And I mean, like, I was breaking tacos, had to remake tacos. I got tired of tacos, right? And I mean, that right there was just insane. Like, that fast food chain, in particular Taco Bell, is so underrated in terms of the line staff. They're so elite. People will never know. You know how hard it is to fold a hard shell taco?
Okay, so I don't know if you've seen this, but there are YouTube accounts, and I would assume TikTok and Instagrams as well, that are just people with like a GoPro camera right here, and they're shooting down, showing how they're preparing it. And these guys are getting hundreds of thousands, 500,000, sometimes millions of views just for 2-3 minutes of videos showing you what a couple minutes out of McDonald's, out of Taco Bell, out of whatever are. And it's really interesting to see that, because it's just like what you're saying. Like, it's a steal. You're like, I only ordered a Big Mac. Like, this should take 2 seconds. Well, actually, the whole process takes 45 seconds to build. I mean, it's pretty interesting to see.
It's a crazy process. It really was a crazy process, but it taught me a lot about being on a team, which was a crazy part. Like, I ran track and field. Track and field is an individual sport, right? But everyone has to communicate. And everything in my life, I learned a lesson. In Taco Bell in particular, that was a huge lesson, because that set me up in determining what I wanted to do. So from Taco Bell, I said, you know what? This is not going to work. So I started on the scholarship grind, the academic scholarship grind. I remember this was late junior year of my high school, when I was a high schooler. And it's this portal, right? It's like every different school district or area you're in has a list of scholarships that you can apply for. And I say, you know what? I might not be going to track and field. I might not be going to college on a full ride for track. And I know I want to go to college, but I have no money to pay for it. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take the same hustle that I had with selling candy, with training for track. I'm going to bring that to the academic side. And academic was always at the back of my mind, right? Growing up, I wasn't always smart. I get that to that later. But I just knew track was going to be the way. But when I lost the identity, I had to put it in a different focus. So I started doing scholarships, and I applied to over 120 scholarships with the help of my mother. She helped me so much on that process because I didn't know what I was doing. This was a new area. And I was able to win 26 scholarships, including a full ride scholarship to Virginia Tech. But this process was crazy. It was insane because I had to step out my comfort zone, right? I was doing things that I'd never done before. I had to do all these different competitions where you had to interview with these scholarship interviewers, and they would ask you all these questions. And it helped me with my public speaking because I was not good at public speaking at all. I hate looking people in their eyes. I didn't know what to say. I got nervous, but like I said, that was a lesson in itself. And I ended up getting that full ride literally the end of my senior year, like I want to say in March, and people start leaving for school like in August, but that was a late time to figure out if you were going to actually go to school or not.
So you're in March, you don't know if you're going to school because you can't afford.
I can afford it. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm on the bubble. I was really on the bubble. I was doing all the right things. I mean, we even had a free college application week at our school where you could apply to, colleges for free because each application was like $50 or so. But for our school, it was this whole week. And I literally stayed in the library that entire week. And I applied to every single school. I mean, Ivy League, every single school. And all my friends was like, what are you doing? Like, it was odd. It was an odd thing to do at that time. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I needed to do it. I was getting all these recommendation letters from my counselor. It was a lot of work being put behind the scenes.
What is the process to apply to a school these days? Is it I'm assuming it's all online. Is it a lot? Is it?
So it is in a way. So you have it's termed it's first admissions, it's secondary admissions, but you can actually go to that school, right? They'll have tours, and you have your transcript there. You give your SAT scores, your ACT scores, and they'll actually accept you on the spot when you go to a tour. And you'll and that's in like October, right? But it's certain people, like your guidance counselor picks those people that should go. And that's the thing. So like for the high schoolers looking at this, you need to make sure you have a great relationship with your guidance counselor, great relationship with your teachers, because those are the people that can really set you up for success after high school. But as high schoolers, you don't know all these things. Like right now, you're just living in the moment, which is not a bad thing, but you need to make sure you're looking for the future for what you're going to do after.
Did your mom instill that in you?
Say that again.
Did your mom instill that mindset in you? Because I mean, my guess is that Tim wasn't like that. You better know that I wasn't like that.
That's why I was in the Air Force, man.
And you know what? My mom, she didn't graduate college. She dropped out as well, but she wanted the best for me. And I had a single parent growing up, and it was just me and my mother. It was me and my mother, and she wanted the best for me. And she did everything that she could to make sure that I got what she didn't have. And the thing that really instilled me was she wanted me to get everything that she didn't have, right? So she made me do the things that I didn't want to do, which was like applying to scholarships, talking to different people, just really putting myself out there and putting myself in that uncomfortable position. Right.
So, what's interesting about all of this? People probably be like, oh, this is obnoxious. This kid applied to 120 scholarships, yada, yada, yada. Some of the things that Tim detailed earlier about Tahjere and his diligence of doing and being prepared for business. Guess what? You did it then 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, whenever that was. You knew to do it, and that's the exact same thing in business. It's just you weren't lazy to do it. You did it. And so it's interesting how that lesson, maybe you never saw the parallel there, but I immediately see it, right? It's like, okay, well, I got to do all the homework. The business is just a bunch of homework. Let's be honest, right?
Well, and the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
Luck.
Yeah.
Well, right. Well, exactly.
Right.
Luck is such an interesting word in that thing, because it's like, okay, well, this person got in that position. Well, what did you see behind the scenes that person didn't tell you that he did?
Mm-hmm. And the 26 scholarships I did win, I had to learn from each one that I lost. So keep in mind, I applied to 120. All right. So the ones
how did you lose 94? I mean, how dare you?
You know, there you go. There you go.
Let's call them up. Like, who are these people? Like,
Who are these people? What was they looking at?
exactly.
So, continuing at that grind, I was getting these scholarships. My mother's excited. I'm excited. I'm really feeling really good. I get back healthy mid-senior year, and I just stepped on the track. I didn't have a lot of training, and I said, I just want to get some times down, right? No matter what, to see if I can still run track. I got some times down there. It wasn't that great. I only made it to regionals. So for track and field, it's different. It's different steps. You have like your local area, and our local area is called the Peninsula, right? So Peninsula District. I ran there. Then you go to regionals, and then you go to nationals, right? I only made the cut for regionals for the 100 meters. So I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do for track. I guess when I go to Virginia Tech, I'm gonna just walk onto the track team and hopefully I make it. But a crazy thing happened, right? And keep in mind, I'm doing everything I need to do. I'm preparing myself. I'm getting ready for college. I'm still doing my scholarships. And, I'm doing the things that I need to do. And I'm putting myself in a good position to get set up for college. My father, he doesn't fly that often. And he ended up flying for the first time in a while. And right next to him was a Virginia Tech track coach, right? And keep in mind, I told my father I was going to Virginia Tech probably 2 weeks after he sat down with him. And my dad just was like, oh, my son is going there. Just give him a shot, just see what he has. And the Virginia Tech track coach took a chance. And he let me do that. And I got on, and keep in mind, this was me literally just doing the things that I need to do. And I surrendered the outcome. I wasn't like, oh, I got to figure a way how to get on this track and field team. Like I knew I wanted to do it, but at this point in time, I need to focus on getting these scholarships and getting a way to get to school.
How does track and field work in terms of, do they keep a number of slots open for walk-ons, or do they recruit and fill the team before the season starts?
Honestly, it's a numbers game. So at the end of the day, everyone has track meets, but we was in the ACC, and you have ACC competition, right? A championship, and people have to put up points. So the top 8 to 10 people put up points. So like the first place is 10 points, and then it goes on from there. So for track and field, for all division sports, it's a certain number of how many scholarships are dispersed. And track always gets about the least amount of money because football takes about that money, basketball takes away from that money. But if you run good times, they're going to put you on the team because they want to win a championship. That's how it works. So you want to be fast, right? You want to be as fast as possible to get on that team.
Well, that's the economics behind it, right? Because the stadium isn't filled the same way that the football stadium is, and whether or not you're the number one team
and I would imagine if you're already there on scholarship, then they don't have to worry about scholarship money.
And that's what my dad threw out. I didn't want to say that because I wanted some more money. Because you got to pay him no money. So now, he got someone that he can at least build up, train, get him points, and he, it's a business at the end of the day. So he was looking at that. That's a good asset to add. So that's how that worked out.
So what did you run all 4 years then?
So we got a long journey too. We got a long journey. So okay, before going to college, right? We're in June now. All right. Me and my family were very close. Like I said, it took a village to raise me. And I had, amazing. I had amazing family. In particular, my aunt. My aunt was like my second mother. And her name was Curl. That's where Aunt Curl sauce comes from. And she had the sauce for me and my family that she always made for our seafood nights. And we had seafood nights almost every single Saturday, every single football, Sunday night football, we had it. And I never knew she actually made the sauce because it was always there. And it was just something that was just always present. And I never ate seafood without it. So I was thinking in my mind, like everyone has this sauce. This is just not a normal thing. This is something that, this is what people do. And come to find out, I was going off to school. And I'm going to Virginia Tech, so that, that's an amount. It's not too much seafood is out there. And I was like, I like seafood. I said, Auntie, where can I get this sauce from? And she told me in that moment, she said, baby, I make this. So, my head's spinning now. I'm like, ain't no way you've been making this sauce for me and my family my entire life, and I didn't know. So I said, at that very moment, keep in mind, I didn't even know the term entrepreneurship or start a business. I just knew about how to make money, how to sell things. So I said, once I graduate college, I'm gonna turn this into a business. And she said she didn't believe me, but I said, I'm gonna do this for you, right? Because you have a great product. I love you, and you deserve the world. So and in June, I started going to school in August. I took classes during the summer. So as soon as I graduated high school, I went straight into college. I took 4 classes during the summer. I was training with the team for track and field as soon as I got there. So I got, a leg up because I wasn't in shape, right? I just stepped on the track to put some times down my senior year. I was trying to get in shape, and keep in mind at that time, you're still trying to get on the team, right? So every day is a make or break type of thing. So I'm killing myself. I'm killing myself in the books, killing myself on the track. And I keep going through forward with that. And I had to pick a major. I ended up going with computational modeling, data analytics, which was crazy. And I only went for that major for the money. I saw they made like $90,000 minimum. But I soon found out why they made a minimum of $90,000 because it was so hard. It was a combination of physics, mathematics, and coding. So in high school, I didn't know what no programming was. I didn't know what no HTML. I never even looked at code before, right? So it was just so many new things I was getting exposed to, and it was crazy because I'm looking in class like, what is this? What is this man talking about? It was a different language. So I ended up changing my major to construction, right? I changed my major to construction, but I kept computer science. For the main reason why I kept computer science because I put so much effort into that class. I said, I just can't let this go. It was like 8 classes you got to take for the minor. But anyway, so I did all that. And I'm halfway through my first fall semester, and I get some news from my family, and they say, Aunt Crow has cancer. And I'm going through my head like, I just left her in June and it's November. And she ends up passing away. Not my fault. That was October. That was October when I got that news. And she passed away in October. And that crushed me, right? And they were definitely trying to keep me in a good state just because I just got to college. And if I would have really knew sooner or so, there's no telling I would have did. I probably would have went back home, probably would have dropped out. But the first thing that hit my mind was that promise I made her. That promise I made her really kept me, and it kept me moving forward. And I don't know what I would have did if I didn't make that promise, because when I made that promise, it was something I really meant, and I knew I wanted to finish it. Like in my life, I never finished anything, so to say. Like I always started things, but never actually got to the end result besides like finishing high school, stuff like that. But I was like, this is something I'm really going to fulfill, and I'm going to turn this dream into a reality.
Had you even made a single batch of the hot sauce at this point?
I didn't even know what went in it. She never even
Where'd you find? Did she have it written down? How'd you figure it out?
I didn't even have a recipe. This is crazy. It's a crazy story. It's a crazy story. So keep in mind, I had my first competition for track and field in December. All my family come up there, and this is just after losing. So this was like this was the first time I seen my family after losing my aunt, and it just was so many emotions. It was a crazy feeling, having your family back. And it was in Blacksburg, so it was at Virginia Tech's home. It was a home track meet. And it was just a great feeling to see them, but I was missing a part of me. I was missing my aunt, and I just remember breaking down, crying, just talking to them, just thanking them for coming out. But it gave me like more motivation. Like it filled me up more to go a little bit harder. So during this time after they left, I'm still competing. I did okay. I didn't do great. Still getting into the gist of things. And, I say, you know what, I'm starting on this business. I'm not waiting. I'm going to do it. And I started, I'm talking to them while they're in Blacksburg saying like, do you know what she put in this? And no one really knew. Like they knew some of the ingredients, but no one has the quantity, the specification. Like they don't know anything. Right. So I'm like, okay, I'm in a dorm. I'm still in the dorm. So I'm making sauce in my dorm, trying to figure it out. It was taking me months because I was just trying to find out. And I'm not a chef. Like I don't cook. You ask my mother. I hate cooking. I don't cook at all. Right. If I have to cook, then it's gonna get done. But so I'm just trying to figure it out in my dorm room. I don't have a car as well, so I'm asking my friends on the team to drive me to Walmart, trying to figure it out, getting on the bus, trying to get all these different things. And then I say, I need a stove, right? Because I'm in my dorm. I don't have anything to cook with. So I went to my friend's apartment complex. I went to his house, and I'm literally just chefing it up in there, trying to make it. I'm letting them taste it. They don't even know how it tastes. They don't, they didn't taste the original. I'm asking them how it tastes, and they never even had it before. But they were very supportive, but it was like, we don't know. So I finally get down something that resembles it. So I bought some bottles off Amazon, like some glass bottles. And at the time I was in a dorm, but I'm trying to say, like, I'm just so blessed. Like during that time I was in a living learning community. And that means like you were in a community where I had to host events for my dorm, right? And they gave us, I think, $1,500 per semester to do events for the dorm. So that was, I did events for the dorm. Shout out Virginia Tech. But I used some of that money to launch the business. And when I say launch the business, I did an event in my dorm where I gave out crab legs. We boiled crab legs. We did shrimp in the dorm, right? And my teammates on track, they helped me do all this. And I remember I never planned accordingly. So I just get into jumping in things. I'm getting out of class at 6:30. They had to come pick me up from my class. It's in my dorm. The event starts at 7, right? So we're rushing. We're boiling crab legs. I'm asking, like, y'all know how to cook crab legs, right? Like, we don't. I said, just boil some water. So, they're cooking crab legs up. I'm making sauce on the spot. I'm showing all the ingredients. I'm just, mixing it up, rushing it. But I did have surveys. And I made some surveys where it's like, how do you like it? What's the consistency? How much should you pay for this? And I know now you should never ask the customer, like, how much would you pay for it? Like, what's the value? But I had it on the box. I had like $5, $3, $7, because I don't know anything at this point, right? And I gave out these surveys, and everyone's getting like 1 crab leg and 1 shrimp, right? So it's just a taste. But on the flyers I did make flyers, and I posted them up everywhere on campus. But on the flyer I said buffet, right? I had to get people there, of course, right? But when they got there, it was 1 crab leg and 1 shrimp. So they was already mad, right? But I had to get the sauce. I said, you're here for the sauce, not the food, right? And I had over 100 people like there. Like the dorm was packed out. Like I was like camp security. I mean, like they thought it was a party going on because there was so many people there, right? So I got good content, got good feedback, and it gave me that oomph I needed, because I'm like, you know what? I can do this now. Like people actually like this. And just to do some foreshadowing, I ended up getting the sauce at Virginia Tech's dining hall, right? So I went from in the dorm to doing this out my dorm to in the dining hall. So we're going to get to that part as well. But like I said, I just put together, right? I never wrote down a recipe either. So
that was my next question. I was like, please tell me you wrote down.
I didn't, Tim. I did. I was going off a taste for 2 years. I went off a taste. So I'm having customers saying, "Oh, this is better than that." Like, just because it was never written. So I'm literally tasting it every single time, and like my cubicles still taste like sauce. And I'm a very real person. I love my unsauce, but now I just like I didn't taste it so much. Like you wouldn't believe how much I didn't, like, first thing in the morning, no breakfast, tasting sauce because I'm making sauce, right? So it was definitely an experience. And
is it a seafood sauce? Is it a like what? I mean, I know it says it goes with chicken and shrimp and crab and things like that, but like, is it like a what's it like?
Yeah. So it's a all-purpose. So originally the name was Aunt Curl's crab sauce, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going off I don't like crabs. I don't want this sauce. It's got crab in it, so I took out the crab, but I kept the crab emblem. But it's an all-purpose sauce, so we ate it with crabs, right? So when we had our seafood nights, it was blue crab stacked to the sky, newspaper on the bottom, sauce all around, right? But it's really good with chicken. It's really good with cauliflower, baking, glazing, dipping. So it's all-purpose. It's not a hot sauce. It's a sauce, so you can use it. It's versatile, right? So a lot of my people like it with chicken wings. They like doing it with the steaks, like actually like marinating in the steaks and grilling it. So we have fun, even a meatloaf. So like we have a good time with the sauce. It's
So it's
definitely
like a ketchup consistency. Is that what you're
it
saying?
is tomato based. It is tomato based. Yes, yes. And when my aunt made it, it was a mild version, right? So we wasn't a spicy. We was a spicy family, right? When I use the bathroom, I don't like anything burned. So you know, we kept it mild. But my customers, they wanted something hot. So I don't do this well with spice. So you gotta imagine me trying to make something hot, and I gotta taste it. I put tears into this, right? I always love my aunt because I'm living out her dream, but now I'm doing this for my customers, right? So I ended up doing cayenne and red chili peppers. That was the spicy version. So I created the spicy version, and that took a while because I was trying to get to a nice heat, but a heat where you could still taste the flavor. You don't want a sauce where it's overbearing and you can't taste it. Like it's a flavorful sauce, and I didn't want to take that away from my aunt's recipe. So it took me a while to get that spicy down. And people start asking me, "Where's your nutritional label? Where is the ingredients?" Right? Because I just have stickers on the bottle, no expiration date. I don't have anything, right? So I'm really trapped in hot sauce, right? So I ended up going to I found out all these resources. So Virginia Tech has a program. It's called the Food Innovations Program. Got to shout them out because they got me here in terms of product evaluation to the point where I'm at now. But they actually test your consistency of your product. They test the HP balance, how long it will last for, all this stuff I didn't have. And a lesson in this is that like I didn't procrastinate, which you know it could have hurt me in a good or bad way, but I just did stuff. I just waited for something. You shouldn't do this, but I just waited stuff to hit the fan and then I did it because I was just trying to get it out there, right? But everything worked out. But I got my nutritional label done, I got the expiration date done. And I got that halfway. So this is year one. I was probably 6 months in, or 6 or 7 months in before I got the nutritional label. And I got that for just the mild, and then I did the spicy probably 2 months later. And from there, I got out of my dorm, got out of my friend's apartment making sauce, and I got into a commercial kitchen, Millstone Kitchen. It was 7 minutes away from my college, Virginia Tech. So I would go down there, you know, after practice, after classes, and make sauce. And the overhead, I think it was $30 an hour. It was something where it was just like I'm killing myself. Because keep in mind, I was selling each bottle for $10. At that time, it was 5-ounce glass bottles. Right now, we have 12-ounce glass bottles. And I was just making sauce, trying to, you know, within 1 hour, I was trying to really crank it out there. You crank out as many bottles as I could to maximize my profit and limit my overhead. But I just remember I'm in there, and it's like a dual kitchen. So like you have chefs on the other side, like it's a community kitchen. So anyone can go in there. I just remember I used to be like, what am I doing? Like I'm seeing chefs like, and I don't even cook. So I'm just like, I'm really doing it. Like that right there was really like a wake up call. Like, Tahjere, like you're really in this. You're really doing this. Like you're really making sauce right now after school. Like it was just like a awakening moment. Like I was just going through the process, but then at that same moment, it's just like, look where you're at right now. Like I'm in the kitchen, in a real kitchen, right? Then anyway, I got FDA approved. They came and inspected. They watched me cook the sauce. Like it was a whole process, and this during COVID. Right. So now we're during COVID. So it was just so hard to get people to come see me because no one was doing stuff. It was just so hard to really build this business because a lot of stuff I needed to do, it wasn't evaluations that could be done over Zoom. It was stuff that they had to see in person. They had to come inspect the kitchen to make sure like I was cooking in a safe environment. And that was a long process. And it was an emails game. So I was emailing. I mean, I never wrote so many emails in my life. Like I was just emailing people back and forth. But I was learning because that's what I do now. All I do is email, right? But but so anyways, COVID happens. My scholarship, right? My scholarship, I had to maintain a 3.0 GPA to maintain my scholarship at Virginia Tech. That was slipping. Keep in mind, I'm still running track. And I had to make a decision at that point. I said, either I stay with track or I focus on my grades, right? I ended up getting a 2.99, right? Literally 2.99. They took away my scholarship. I had to do an appeal to get my scholarship back. and I got it back, but that was a wake up call. I said, I can't, because that was the first offense. You get a second offense, it's over. It's no coming back.
What'd
So
you need, a 3.0?
The next semester?
Well, what did you need to
Yeah,
3.0. Mm-hmm.
I had to maintain a 3.0, and I had to maintain 15 credit hours. So I couldn't go below. So each semester you had to do 15 credit hours and a 3.0 GPA. That was the goal. Like, no matter what I did outside, I had to make sure I did a 15 credit hours, like that's 5 classes and 3.0. But what hurt me was we used to travel for track and field. So like most of I was have to tell my teachers like, hey, I'm about to do this. Some of them were like, they did work with me, but some didn't. And that kind of, messed my grade up in a sense, but I had to make a decision, and I made a decision. And that decision was one of the hardest decisions I ever made, because I'm a man of faith. So I was asking God, I was like, you didn't just bring me all this way just to start running track. Like, what are you trying to do? Like, my dad was able to sit next to the Virginia Tech track coach. I was able to get on the team. It's just stuff folding. I was able to go deep. Like, my number one dream was to run a D1 program, right? And I was able to do that without actually I want to say it wasn't just all track. Like, it just worked out in a sense, right? And that definitely changed me. And it taught me a very valuable lesson about tough decisions. And I was definitely getting molded and cultivated during that time, but I made a decision to start running track and field. And, during the pandemic, it kind of made it a little easier. But I just remember, because my roommates were still on the track and field team, I just remember them going to practice, and I'm sitting in the room like, oh man, wish I, it was just a sad feeling, but it filled me up more, because I was like, what do I have in front of me right now? Whatever I have in front of me, I need to be giving it 110% of what I have. So that's what I started doing. I just started pouring more of my energy into that. And during COVID, I really got a leg up in a sense. Like, I was blessed enough, because I know COVID was it was a hard time for a lot of people. But in my case, it gave me more time to focus on my business, because I didn't have to commute. Because at this time, I moved out of the dorm, and I got a house with my teammates. And that commute was like 20 minutes or so, but the commute's not the thing. It was me sitting in class, right? I was able to do everything from home. So I was able to do a lot for my business from home. We're still good?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So taking a step back, right, with computer science, I ended up saying I want to start another business, right? I said, I was like, I want to finish something. I want to do something. So I said that I'm gonna make a mobile app, right? I never did coding before. The introduction in Virginia Tech was really a wake up call, and I hated feeling so stupid in those classes, because I honestly didn't know anything. And the class was like 40 minutes. So in 40, it's only but so much you can learn in 40 minutes. Like, you had to be taking programming classes in high school to be able to, the system was just, it was like, I was like, this is rigged. There's no way you're going to be able to, it was just no way. It is twice a week. You got, so altogether, you sit in class for 2 hours a week, and you're supposed to get an A in this. It was no way. So I say, you know what? I'm going to teach myself how to make iOS apps. So I literally okay, how do I make iOS apps? So I saw I had to get a MacBook. So you can only make iOS, apps on a MacBook, like go Apple, right? Monopoly. So I had to get a job, right? A MacBook Pro, what I needed was just so I ended up getting a job. And this is during the summer in between my freshman and sophomore summer, right? So I already started the sauce business, right? And then I'm doing the app stuff over the summer. I ended up getting 2 jobs. I took 4 classes because I changed my major. And the major I had, the construction major, that was like 140 credits. And then computer science was 20 credits. So it was like, yeah, I'm about to graduate with some credits. So I ended up doing that, and it took me 5 months to make my first app. But the app was called University Link. It's still on the Google Play Store and the Apple Store. But that really got my name out in campus because I built an app that was similar to LinkedIn, but it was geared towards connecting entrepreneurs on college campuses. And that blew up on my campus, which originally got my name out. And I was able to start a business out of it because people wanted to learn how I was doing that, because at the time, no one it was a class to teach you mobile apps, but they taught you just enough, but not to release your own app. You get what I'm saying? Like it taught you how to code, but not to get to the finished part. And how I learned was YouTube University, right? So I literally sat in my dorm like all day and night and was like trying to figure out how to code, how to program.
It's a great place.
Yeah, it's a great place. You just literally got to sit yourself down and focus, right? So I ended up doing that, and I got 2,000 users, right? It was going crazy, right? And I was like, oh man, this might be it. I said this might be my ticket. It wasn't a ticket. It wasn't a ticket. I had so many problems because the app, it was crashing my back end. It was just a lot of stuff that I didn't know. But like I had a lot of people on campus like, hey, how do you do this, such and such? And they wanted me to teach them. So I started teaching people how to, make mobile apps, but I ended up getting my first 2 employees. And they do mobile apps with me now. So I started a business called TTP Tech, which is with TTP Tech. TTP stands for Trust the Process. And we started doing websites and mobile apps. But I used that app, right, to get my first internship as well at a tech company. Keep in mind, I'm probably like the only minority in there. I'm holding up a phone. This was experience for me. And I'm like, hey, I did this app, like just trying to get a job, right? I'm just out there just, trying to use what I have. And I was able to get one. And it was a really great job. And I learned a lot of stuff at that job that I use today. But that's here or there. But I started doing the app business. I still have the tech company. And we still do websites and apps for people. And I ended up doing an app for Virginia Tech. So it trickled into so many things. I did an app for a PhD class where they wanted their own app. Right now we use Canvas, which Canvas is like a management for classes. I know on the East Coast they use a Blackboard, but I basically made their own for that class, and that was a great contract.
So you talked about the process of making it, getting FDA approved, the nutritional label, things like that, doing in school. Shout out to that school that I won't say the name of, but good job for them being very helpful in that situation. It's in a lot of stores, it looks like, just from the location map online. Are you talk me through the process of getting into that stores? Are you going and doing your famous, your shot, you're walking in with that, with the jar, are you, is that like, that's so ridiculous. Like, is that your look? Like, you're like, oh, hey, everybody, look, I got myself. No one carries, Tahjere, come on, man. No one carries sauce like that, man. No one does. So I like the anomaly in you for that. But like, you talked about a lot of emails to people. Are you emailing them saying, hey, let me have you come to the store and try it? Like, do you have to do that for everyone into the hundreds of stores? Like, what's the process of getting it into stores? Has it gotten easier? Is it harder? Walk me through that.
Yeah. So when I first started, it was so nerve-wracking. But the first store I ever got to, so I was able to get on TV locally in that area, and someone reached out to me. It was Mr. Bill's Wine Cellar in Roanoke, Virginia. Shout out to him. He was my first store. And he ordered, 4 cases, and at that time I was making it. But while I'm making this, I was like, I got my first store. I'm cooking it up. I'm feeling good. I still ain't got no recipe. So it's, I'm still doing crazy stuff, right? Like so I get in there, right? That was the first email, but I didn't get in the store until another year later, right? But the process was I had to step out my comfort zone again. I still do it today, but it's just a humbling experience. Like you gotta have faith in your product. You gotta know your product is the best, not in a humble way, but I had to put myself out there. So I go door to door. Like every single store I have now has been door to door, right? I have 26 locations right now. I have 1 in New York, 17 in Virginia. I have 1 in Georgia. And I think I have 5 or so in Florida right now. But it's all door to door. The only one that wasn't door to door was the one in New York. And that story was a lady from New York was in one of our Virginia locations, and she had the sauce there. And she went back to New York and told the grocery store, hey, he has such a great story. You should put the sauce in your store. And he ended up emailing me, but he didn't email me back. So I was like, I'm about to send him a bottle. I wrote him this nice handwritten note. And then he finally got back to me, and then he ordered 2 cases and put it in his store. But the process was door to door. It was, hey, my name is Tahjere. I tell them about the story of my aunt. I tell them how I'm trying to get into more locations. And then I had to figure out a price point. When I first started, I undervalued my product. I was selling it at a rate. I didn't like at this time. I wasn't really infatuated with numbers. Like I was still trying to learn. I didn't know the numbers game, right? I'm still going through. I got to shout out Apex a lot in terms of what an entrepreneur entails, what he needs to do. So at this time, I'm figuring out my numbers. I'm still making the sauce by hand. And then I finally get a co-packer, right? I get a co-packer, and this was a huge accomplishment because I was working for 2 years to get a co-packer, but COVID, it was just like ingredients was bad. It was just so much stuff that was pushing me behind. So I had to keep doing what I knew, and that was just making the sauce. I didn't want to do that, but I didn't want to stop the business either. So I ended up getting a co-packer, and they make the sauce for me now. So I buy it. They put the labels on. They Ziploc it. They got the expiration date on it. It's a really great process now because now I'm not in the business of making sauce. I'm in the business of selling sauce, and that's such a better place to be for me right now. Because making sauce that was definitely hard.
What about the decision to go direct to consumer, which is online stuff, versus the retail stuff, which is the 27 stores, versus maybe even wholesale, getting into a couple bigger stores? Like, does that run through your head? Where are you on that? How do you make that decision? Because there's a ton of direct to consumer businesses that build up a huge list, do very, very well. Tim and I were talking about the Magic Spoon cereal the other day. They raised something obnoxious, like $100 million or something ridiculous. They're very much I would think a direct-to-consumer brand. It's like $11 protein cereal if you're not familiar. But like, you can do that and be very successful not being in retail. Like, how do you make the decision on, we should do retail, we shouldn't, we should do it online?
Yes, and in my case, it went through the journey. It was like going through the process. So I started off on e-commerce, right? So at first I was selling it like, I was selling out my dorm, selling sauce, just selling sauce every way I could. And I started a website. And, the biggest thing about that was the shipping costs for my customers, right? They're paying $10, right, for the bottle, but shipping was like $7, right? So you end up paying $17 for a bottle. And I end up finding out who my audience was. And my audience are people from 35 to 65, right? And most of them don't shop online versus the millennials like myself. So I had to start putting it in front of them. So that's when I really started focusing on the numbers, and I started focusing on my brand as well. And what that means, like Aunt Krill sauce is a memory to my aunt, but it's also to bring families together like it did for me and my family. So I said, I'm gonna put this in, like, it just wasn't just random stores, but it was stores that was like, your mom and pops that actually had a connection to the community, which was loving, and all the products in there. It was a compliment. It wasn't a substitute in any way. It was a compliment to the area, to the environment. So I ended up doing that, and I did restaurants as well. So a couple of in Hampton, Virginia. One is Tommy's Restaurant. Tommy's Restaurant has been around quite a long time. It's a family-owned restaurant. Best breakfast you'll have in that area, hands down. And it's in there right now. So that environment right there is it's literally like the meaning behind the sauce, like to gather around, right? To have a good meal with people you love. Like it wasn't a better setting. So that's how I went around it though, like figuring out to get in restaurants, figuring out to get in retail, and figuring out how to get on e-commerce.
Has failure or fear of failure has it ever entered your mind, or you just kept head down and just going forward?
I want to definitely say, of course, I am. I'm not going to sit here and say like I'm not scared or I wasn't. Like it is, but at this point, like losing my aunt, like it was like, is people going to like this? Like that was always like my fear. Like I'm putting myself out there. Am I going to actually make it? But at the end of the day, I just lost my aunt, and like that was my backbone. So like nothing else could shake me now. It's just like it's really full force right now to see what it can actually do.
Yeah, because there's so many people that I talk to that they think of, rather than think of how things can work, they think about why they can't or what they need in order to get to the next place. Whereas it just seems like you've just always just gone all in. We're diving into this pool and we're not even going to check to see if there's water in this thing. We're just going to go and figure it out.
Yeah.
Even without a recipe that he's
Yeah.
making from his
Right.
man curl sauce.
Yeah,
You know, I've been listening to you for 50 minutes. I was under the impression that you had the recipe this entire time. So my main question is, I mean, what would Aunt Carol think about the sauce that you've made today? Would she approve? Would
Well,
she
that's
spit it out? What,
And
like, what?
does your family members, do they approve? Have
Yeah.
you reached parity?
Do they like Aunt Carol's original better? Like, where are we on this?
Yeah. So that's a great question. They like it, you know, but the master chef, I mean, she made it. It was so good. Like, it's so, I'm not going to tell you, it's really, I believe in the product now. I love it. But when she made it, I mean, it was just, I don't know, the love for, I don't know if I was just in the moment. I'm like, I can't wait for these crab legs and the sauce type of thing. But the family approves, right? When I was at school, they couldn't taste it on the spot. So I had to wait till I got back from break to have them try it. But the first people to ever taste it was the people on campus. So that was like, that moment right there was like, this is the first time ever that people other than my family is going to have my aunt's sauce. So that was major.
So Tim meets you. What month did you say it was? What version of? Because I did March of last year. Isn't that the one that I judged? Wasn't there?
Wait, say that again. What are we doing?
No, we're just trying to. I'm trying to remember what Star Peninsula event. Was it September?
Oh, yeah. No. October. We was doing Pitch Perfect in October.
Yeah.
We was doing Pitch Perfect.
So what brings you into that? How do you just say, hey, you know, there's a chance to win $5,000? You know, that would be nice to win. It's a local thing to where I am. Walk us through the process of that, because it's interesting. I put on 5 of those things back in the early 2010s. Tim's done it 10 times now, maybe more. I can't even count. But you know, there's that process of a startup weekend or a Start Peninsula type of event, which is morphed into something I think a lot stronger, where it's a process over a lot longer of period of a time. But what's it like going through that? What did you learn? Why did you do it? Stuff like that.
Absolutely. So during college, I was doing pitch competitions. So I was kind of familiar, but I got into VWIC, which is an incubator at Hampton University. And I got in that while I was a student at Virginia Tech. It's open to literally everyone. And I definitely want everyone to check out VWIC. But they actually, one of the administrators of the program said, hey, I think you would do great, you know, at Start Peninsula. And they sent me the link and I went ahead and applied. And I think it was like the last week to apply as well. Like I was like the last slot. I was definitely the last slot. Yeah.
What was that? That came from a result of a grant. Was it from Bezos's wife, or was it from Bill Gates's wife or something? Is that what funded the VWIC program?
I don't want to lie. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah.
It was something.
Yeah.
What's it called? VWIC?
VWIC.
It was, but yeah, that seems like a really, really great program. The number of businesses that participate is just amazing. And then I was
Is that
really,
the one that
really
has
happy.
like 500?
500
companies?
Businesses.
A Virginia Workforce Innovation Entrepreneurship Center?
Yeah, that's the one.
Got it.
And they gave me y'all's contact.
Yeah. No, that was great. A lot of great companies participate in Start Peninsula as a result of that. And man, so like you've continued. Now you're in Florida. You're back running.
I am.
And you're still running the business.
I am.
So it's just, you just keep going.
I just keep going until I can't go no more.
So what are your goals now is in terms of track and field? Where do you hope to take that? And where do you hope to take the business?
So my personal goal is to prosper, but I want to really see myself living out my full potential. So everything I do, I'm doing it until I can't do it no more. Not in a way where it's like I'm killing myself. I'm still having fun. As long as I'm still having fun, I'm in a good place, right? I take breaks. I do what I need to do, but I want to take everything to the max, right? I want to get my sauce to the max. I want to get track to the max. Everything I do, I want to really push it to the limit.
Yeah, I'm just curious, Zach, where that limit is, in terms of.
Yeah.
Keep going. Keep going. You're back, Tahjere. Keep going.
Okay. Yeah. So I just want to push to that limit. So right now, I think I'm in a pace where like everyone thinks they're on the edge, but I think I'm right on the cusp of breaking this bubble and really getting out there. Like I've been doing door to door for the past 9 months or so, and I got 26 locations. So it's just that one person at the right time, and I'm just putting myself in position. Just the same thing with track. That right race at the right time gets the right time.
Have you tried going to bigger stores? A Whole Foods, a Food Lion, a Kroger, a Harris Teeter. It seems like they have, more local, smaller quantity. I don't know what the word is. Categories. I mean, have you tried those? What are they saying? What's that process like?
Yeah, and that's the process that I'm working on now. I've been working on that process for the past 4 months because I'm in a position to actually sustain that. Some of those stores, they tell you got to pay for shelf space. And for me, it's easy to get on the shelf, but to sell the sauce off the shelf, that's the part. So I just need to make sure my business is in a way where people know about it. I need more marketing. I need to get more exposure. And I think that's coming out of time. The more locations I get, the more people will recognize the brand, the more people will recognize the sauce. So when it does get into a store location, they're like, oh, I know about this type of thing. So I really think that process is really coming up of getting my first location. I have been doing my applications, and you have to get a distributor. You don't have to, but like majority of those sauce, they have the distributor. They take a cut as well of the product, but they disperse your product and they talk to the people in management for those large chains because I can go into a Target right now, but the district manager has no leeway on putting products in the store. So that's a possibility I'm looking at as well as a distributor because I'm the distributor. I'm the one that writes the invoices. I'm the one that knocks on the doors. I'm the one that makes it gets off the shelf.
Yeah, I mean, even getting it into a store, I mean, like a Target, like any of those big boxes, they got hundreds of thousands of SKUs, tens of thousands of SKUs. I mean, how many hot sauce bottles, how many sauce bottles are in there, and it is, that's got to be a crazy game just to do that, and whether you're paying for shelf space, whether they buy it and then they return it because it didn't sell after a while. I mean, I would imagine that stress alone would be pretty wicked.
Oh yeah, it's a dangerous game. I mean, and the margins on sauce is low, so you got to sell in volume. That's how you make your bucks. Selling case or selling single bottles, it doesn't make the business grow.
Can you still go to your website and buy direct to consumer?
Yes. Please check out uncurlsauce.com that you see down there below. Please order a bottle or two for your loved ones.
Yeah, and we'll definitely make sure it's in the show notes and include it there as well.
What's something we haven't talked about that you want to talk about?
I mean, I got a crazy life. That's pretty much it. That's my journey. Everything is lessons I learned and I'm applying them today. I just look back at my life. I'm just blessed to be at this position right now, even to be in your presence, both of y'all, to be able to share my wisdom and my knowledge through my experiences. And I just want to keep doing this. I want to keep sharing, what I have been through and the lessons that I learned so people don't have to make, the same mistakes that I made. They can just get to that process a little bit faster than I did.
Yeah. Who do you turn to now to keep learning from either a mentorship standpoint or just to fill that desire to keep getting smarter and more knowledgeable?
Yeah, the world definitely keeps me on my toes. It's just something new every day. And it just like when I say the world, I'm just going out there, doing what I do. It keeps me wanting to just learn more because the world is changing every day. When I talk to different store owners, just an edge case, when I did talk to different store owners, they'll say things like, oh, do you have such and such for your product? Oh, I didn't know I needed that for my, you know. So now I gotta go learn and get that for my product type of thing. But it's just little stuff like that that always keeps me on the edge and always keeps me learning. Yeah.
They say the world is your oyster. I say the world is your oyster, and make sure to put some Aunt Carol sauce on them.
I love this guy. I love this guy. There you go.
Dude, Zach, the pendulum has swung in both directions, man. You went from I don't want to even bring up the other side, but
you're talking about his bad choice in colleges that started this. I understand. No, it's fine.
We all make mistakes. Nation is the best nation.
We all make mistakes, and clearly you know that you made one. It's okay. Tahjere, it's been awesome. Look forward to seeing you in person at some point in the future. I look forward to trying the sauce, not on seafood because I'm allergic, but I'll try it on the chicken wings because I love me some chicken. So thanks for being with us today.
Continued success, man. It was a great conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Talk soon. Peace.
So long.